Master David Navara from Czech Republic has just played one of the best chess games of the elite level that I have seen in quite a long time, and I'm very excited to share it with you guys. This game took place in the 5th round of the Prague International Chess Festival, which is a very prestigious chess tournament that holds a lot of the elite players in the world, and it's now taking place from the 24th of February to 6th of March. Honestly, most of the games in the elite level of chess are not really that interesting as an average spectator to watch. So it's really nice to get one of these games where we just get a huge flourish of tactics all over the place for once in a while. Also, it might be a bit early to say this, but I truly believe that this game will already be a strong contender for Game of the Year of 2026, even though the year just started. The months of February and March have really spoiled us for choice with so many games and so many strong players and elite players playing all over the place, from the St. Louis Masters to the Bundesliga, of course, to this tournament like the Prague International Chess Festival and so many others. And there have been so many games played, and I'm really excited to share with you some ideas and opening ideas and interesting games that I have been seeing. So stay tuned for that. So Navarro opened up the game with d4, and we got a Catalan, which is this opening with the queen's pawn and the bishop on g2. And we got this sort of closed Catalan. It will soon take the character of that. And this move a5 has been popular as of lately. I feel like Carlsen might have been the one who started popularizing this. They also play a5 here earlier on. I'm even pretty sure this was the game that we covered in one of my latest videos with my friend Bruno Martins. I feel like he played a5 in this position against Nico Chasin. But yeah, in this game we get a5 here, bishop g5, and the bishop gets traded off. Now, you might find this a bit weird. I remember that a couple of years ago, like I had no experience whatsoever in these Catalan structures, and I was commentating for some sort of like a blitz event or something, and I just said like, okay, White is clearly, not such a good player. He immediately gives up the bishop pair for no reason. But then when I studied these structures, I started to learn that this is often how White just plays. Yeah, he just gives up the bishop for no reason. And the reason for this is that, well, I can tell you why the bishop is not that important. It's because the game is sort of closed, especially after black plays like c6. The game is very closed, so the bishop doesn't really have that much of an effect. At the same time, I'm not good enough to explain to you why he doesn't just play bishop f4. It's also just a normal, reasonable move. But I mean, at the end of the day, probably it's just also some idea that he had in this position. But this trade is very common in these positions. So b6, I was actually kind of, it's funny to note that there was this game here that already occurred, which is called like a predecessor in chess, when it's like a game that followed with the same line until a certain point, and then this game deviates. Yeah, there was this random game, and I was just clicking through the moves, this was the predecessor game, and then I saw it's a game Kramnik versus Jose Martinez Alcantara from this Clash of Claims Blitz tournament, and it's so random, and this doesn't make any sense. Like this a4, I mean it's a Blitz game, yeah. Maybe he mixed up some prep or something. This just hangs upon for no reason. But Kramnik lost that game. Anyways, we get b6 in this one. e4, very common stuff. Black takes on c4. This is important. You shouldn't usually take on e4 in these positions, and this is what sort of the Patzer players do. They just trade everything on e4 and end up with this weakness on c6, this poor bishop here, and after knight e5, like White has a nice advantage. You should, well, not always, but usually take on c4. So we get knight e5, bishop b7, knight c4, b5, knight e3. We have this little knight dance here. Rook c8. So basically, White has a bit more space. Black has the bishop pair, which is a trump like in the long run. And he's looking to break through with c5 at some point, but of course it's very hard to pull that off. Rook c1, queen d6, e5, knight d5, knight e4. And now the game will really start heating up. So Black had a very nice option here, which I feel like would be the typical course of a game between two gentlemen that play chess so phenomenally well. And it's because Black didn't see this, or maybe he wanted to play for more, I don't know, that we got presented with this beautiful game. So the best line would be knight takes, pawn takes, and now this move c5, which is a little difficult, of course. For example, knight c5, bishop g2, king g2, and now not taking the knight, but rather rook c7. So taking the knight is no good because then after like a check, the rook is just landing on d6, but instead just rook c7. And what happens here is that white is in sort of a precarious situation because he cannot remove the queen from c2 because it's guarding this knight. And so the queen is sort of, it's pinned and it can't really move. If white goes a3, black can go b4, stopping this cementation of the knight with b4. And so the position here is just completely equal because black is going to take on c5 at some point. Even black might be slightly pressing. Instead, Yakovayev goes knight b4. And now we get to see David Navara's idea. If you don't know, I mean, you will surely learn through this game, but David Navara is an absolutely incredible chess player, extremely creative, and he has other like incredible masterpieces of games that I'll probably share with you at some point. So what was his idea? Well, he's not going to go queen b1. That's the passive, obvious move that you and I would play. He wants queen e2, hanging this pawn on e2, rook a1, knight b4. So what's his idea? Okay, why to play here? If you want to pause the video. He went knight f6, check. Exclamation mark. So, yeah, he's starting some raid against white's king. So he ended up taking with the bishop, actually, not accepting the sacrifice. So what happens if he took queen g4? Now there's only two legal moves, like king h8 and king h7. If king h8, queen h4, attacking these pawns. Okay, there's a little bit of calculation required, but not that much, and especially not that hard for a player who is 26, 28, yeah? Just check and knight g4. It's probably stronger than taking the pawn, but that should be winning as well, I guess. But knight g4 is pretty clear cut, and then knight f6. And if king h7, it's probably even simpler. Just this, sack the knight. Again, not exhilarating stuff for a player of this caliber. So that's why black didn't take, and he ended up, well, he didn't accept the sacrifice. He ended up just trading the bishop for the knight. And now, again, he doesn't take because it would ruin his king's position, and also he needs some pieces to protect his king, so he comes back with the queen. F g7, king g7, and yeah, the king is very weak, so Navara's idea has succeeded here, but it's still not clear how he's going to break through actually to deliver like checkmate. So knight g4, he starts stirring up the pot, and now this weird move rook a8, but you know, this is the kind of move that you and I would never play, but like, you have to understand that these players, they live in a different plane from the both of us, and like, their brains don't think about chess the way that we do. Like, they just exist in a higher dimensional plane of chess. So the point of rook a8, let me try to dumb it down, is that basically white in some positions is threatening rook a5. So if we just make like a placeholder sort of move, white can go rook a5, sacking the rook, and Lever Rosman would be happy, and then queen e3. Again, quite hard to see, quite hard to spot, but I do think that black saw this, and so did white, of course. So now we're threatening this mate in two, right? So queen h6, king g8, knight f6 would be mate. And you have to, well, you probably have to go rook h8, and now this check. So we basically drag the rook here so we can give this check, and after, and so he doesn't have f6, because if we gave this check immediately here, he would have f6, and it's protected by the rook. So this, and then king g8, knight f6, and it's just lights out. Like this rook is dropping as well. This is game over. So that's why he played this weird looking move rook a8. But it's one of the best moves. So now queen e5, f6, queen takes e6. So how are we doing? Material-wise, we are all even. But the main issue by far is black's king safety, right? And also white is just more active. Okay, so bishop c8, queen e2, queen d6, knight e3, bishop d7. And now here we'll start like the main phase of the game, the most beautiful part, and the main reason why this game is even being featured right now on my illustrious channel. So d5. Okay, he's just trying to break everything loose and see what happens. that's probably not what he was thinking, but yeah, he's just trying to break everything open and just activate this guy, the rook, etc. Also getting rid of his isolated pawn, so why not? Black goes c5, and within 1 minute 30 of thought, he goes, okay, I should ask you here. This is one of the most beautiful moves of the game. Well, it's a beautiful move, but the game is so nice that it might not even enter my top 3 moves of the game. I'm not sure. Okay, queen takes b5. Always just such a nice feeling when the queen just hangs itself like that, like in front of a pawn or a minor piece. Just incredible. Okay, so the basic point is if bishop b5, knight f5, the king goes somewhere, probably not to f7, it goes somewhere else. Knight d6, and we just want a pawn. We won't be delivering mate that soon anymore, but this endgame is just really good for white with this runner here on d5. But black, within 1 second, goes knight c2. So you see, like, he was ready for this. Again, these guys gravitated in a different plane. He was ready for this. He goes knight c2 immediately. But Navara was also ready for this. And within 40 seconds, he goes queen c6. Now this, I think Yakuboyev might have missed. I would believe they missed something. I mean, of course they missed something. Otherwise, they will always draw. But then again, they usually do always draw. So queen c6. Again, sacking the queen right in front of the bishop. I mean, it's even just remarkable what he's doing. So if bishop c6, again, there's this, and knight d6, and then the bishop is hanging. And if queen c6, it's similar. So he goes queen e7. He runs away from this queen, like chasing the other queen, which is pretty funny. Now finally the queen steps out of danger. Knight e3. But the fun doesn't end here. Knight e3, you think he would just take back, right, and just get into some position like this. I'm not sure if black should take, but something like this, I guess. But no, he's not going for any of that. He goes d6. Intermediate move on the queen. Queen e6. And okay, now he takes... No. Again. Rook e1. I mean, these moves, like, a lot of the moves he's playing, like, I'm not sure I would even consider them. But he just considers them and calculates them and thinks they are the best move, and he rightfully thinks so because they are, according to the computer, which is even the most incredible thing. So rook e1, and he just wants to recapture with the rook. Okay, fair enough. The knight is pinned to the queen. Rook a6, and now we take, right? Now we take, queen d6, take, and we can't take on a5, but can we do something else? Some bishop f1, and white is slightly better. But no, he goes rook a to d1. Dude, this move is incredible, actually, and he played it in 20 seconds. I also really like to look at the timestamps because it just gives you so much information as to what they saw before making a certain decision, right? And he was playing fast and furious, man. Like, rook a d1, what a move. I mean, he was just really feeling it this game. So yeah, white just wants to hold on to the pawn, and for the time being, we're keeping this spin. Like, he's trying to tidy up everything before he takes the knight. Queen g4. Still, he doesn't freaking take it. I'm even getting annoyed at this point. Like, he doesn't want to take with a pawn because it ruins his pawn structure and closes off the rook. He cannot take with the rook because this one is hanging. So he goes h3, another intermediate move. Queen a4, and now b3. Again, because the rook was hit. I mean, this is too much, man. Also, the queen is keeping contact with this bishop, right? So after b3 takes, we can finally take on d7, rook f7. And now, like, just when you thought that the dust should be settling or something. I mean, you can pause the video here and try to... Oh. You can pause the video here and try to figure out what he played. Yeah, I would say this one is more findable. Still very beautiful. Queen takes f7. So now he realizes that the pawn is this pawn that he, consciously guarded here a couple moves ago with this rook 81 did not let this little soldier die. And now a couple moves later, you realize that the pawn is going all the way to promotion and taking it home. Knight takes g2, and now this rook e7 as well. Gosh, what a game, really. What a freaking game. He could have just queened as well, but these guys are so good that they can even flex their calculating abilities and their tactical vision. So rook e7, king e7. He queens, and he realizes that he only needs the queen and the rook to deliver mate. You don't need more. He saw it all the way through. Queen e8 played in 9 seconds. Okay, queen e4 he took 2 minutes, but you can already see this king is doing, as we say in Portuguese, the extra hour. Queen e4, and he threatens some mates with h4 and rook g7, f5, rook g7, rook g6. And now even like a beautiful mate, h4. I mean, it would have been, it finished like this, the game. It would have been even more beautiful if he were to play king f5. And then there are some mates with the pawn. Like, how can you do this? Queen f5, rook g5. And, well, I don't know. I was just trying to set up some mates with the pawn. I guess it's not really possible here. We just have to give this old school mate. But yeah, he finished like this. Just a phenomenal game. Also, it's kind of picturesque. Like, how did this knight get here to the fianchetto position of the bishop? But yeah, what a massacre. What a masterpiece. This was played again just a couple days ago, and it proves that these beautiful games that will go down in history are still possible to create in our day and age. So just an incredible game, and the tournament is still going on. Navara is not even in first place, I don't think. I think he's in second place. Jordan Van Forest has been having an amazing event, and let's see if more gems like this are produced, and I'll see you guys soon with the next video.